Well, today I'm going to be changing the prop shaft on this little Panda 4x4 because the center bearing is worn out. Now, we have had to do that before on the Panda Cross, which my son now uses, and we changed that about 3 or 4 years ago and it's still going strong. So now we have to do that to this little nugget over here. Something happened when I put the handbrake on, and it seems as if the back left suspension has collapsed somehow. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what I find underneath there. After inspecting the rear suspension, I determined that the springs and everything else were intact, but what had actually happened was the handbrake cable for the left-hand side brake caliper had snapped, and with the right-hand side under tension, it made the car feel like that side had collapsed. So I set about removing the handbrake cable from underneath the car. It had snapped in 2 places in the end, one near the handbrake lever and the other just beyond the handbrake caliper. So I pulled out the internal handbrake cable, removed the outer housing from the various clips on the underside of the Panda 4x4, and then got a new handbrake cable and just did the reverse of removal. Clipped it into the caliper, then attached it to the T connector at the handbrake cable and tensioned it all up. With that done, I could then proceed with the rest of the prop shaft work, knowing that the car would be safely on the ramps held by 2 handbrake cables and not just 1. There is a link in the description below to the full process of removing and replacing the handbrake cable on the Panda. So underneath the Panda 4x4 there is a prop shaft that runs up through the center tunnel. In the middle of that prop shaft is the center bearing. It is moving a lot. Pretty sure that's not right, which means that I need to replace the whole prop shaft. So here's a close-up of the center support bearing, and as you can see, this is not doing such a great job of supporting the center of this prop shaft, or drive shaft as the Americans call it. And this, I reckon, is the source of the knocking. This collar here is making contact with the outside, and clink clink clink. So I've bought a new prop shaft and we're going to drop this one off. So now that I've exposed the bearing, made sure that it is in fact the problem, I need to remove the 6 bolts from that CV joint down there on the rear differential, and then these 6 bolts on the front differential. So I'll loosen those, get them out, and the back, and then with those gone, I will then remove these 2 center support bolts to lower the center, and the prop shaft should just drop off. Well, in typical "this won't take long" fashion, the Allen head has broken off inside the socket. Now, this begs the question once again with this car: why make these things so tight? This is way more than 40 Newton meters for it to snap off the end of an Allen head. That's not a cheap one. It's just broken off inside there, which makes it impossible to remove this now. Oh gosh, that's going to create a world of hurt now. So that is all the front CV joint bolts out. Now I need to deal with this stubborn rear CV joint where I've got one socket with a broken Allen key inside it, How I'm going to get that off with that limited space, I do not know. Miraculously, with some penetrating fluid and lots of jiggery pokery, I managed to get all but the one socket head bolt out. Let's try get a vice grip on there. The nut extractors don't fit. This is going to be insane.
A few moments later.
Alright, so I'm back at trying to get this remaining bolt off the rear prop shaft differential joint, and I have some more vice grips and another method to try and get hold of that and just crack it, and then I can get it off, because as you can see it is impossible to get anything in there. Pop a bit of sandpaper on there as well. The wrong way around, Steve. To help with the grip. Yes, this would be a lot easier on a ramp, but that's not how it works. Come on! So sure that's turning. I can't actually see with the paper on, unfortunately. Nope, that's not turning. Gotta go tighter. Come on now. Oh, I think I might be moving it. Yes! It's moving. Oh yes. Oh, thank you. There you go. It is off. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything like that before? Absolutely ridiculous. So that little trick with the sandpaper and a set of vice grips with much more jagged teeth has allowed me to take that off. Now I can get a hammer and just break that seal there, undo the two bolts at the center support bearing, and it should drop right off.
A few moments later.
That is the prop shaft off. Here it is. So I just used two jack stands to support either end, then loosened the final bolt holding the center bearing on, and then that stopped it from dropping into my face, which wouldn't have been nice because that thing is pretty heavy. But at least now I've got that out of the way. The car will run perfectly in two-wheel drive, so let's take it for another spin. And I've still got a horrendous knock. So the knock from the center of the car is gone, because obviously the worn out prop shaft is no longer there. But if you listen carefully, now that feels like it's underneath the soles of my feet, which means it's up front somewhere now. Darn it. Alright, back to the driveway. I think that's ball joints. I did inspect the wishbones and the wishbone bushes, and they looked fine. I did inspect the rear gearbox torque mount, and that was fine. But I think this is ball joints. I think I'm going to have to get some new wishbones with ball joints fitted. I think that's going to be the easiest thing to do, and that will eliminate all of those bushes and all those ball joints in one go. I did inspect the anti-roll bar bushes when I fitted the drop links. So things are improved, but they're not fixed. Project cars, eh? Alright, wishbones next.